visit the offices of rulers and councils for the welfare of society and the just government of man. We beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of such important trust in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Good morning to the members. We're on item number 3, obituary and congratulatory remarks, and asking members who wish to give obituary remarks as they relate to the passing of a former member and the Bishop Daniel. I'll take 3 members from either side. Brief, please. Brief meaning a few sentences. Can we begin? Who's speaking, please? If we're not having anyone, we'll move on to item number 5. Sorry, item number 4. Are you going to speak?
Yes, Madam
Good.
Madam Speaker, let me, on behalf of myself and those members on this side of the House, Madam Speaker, extend again, Madam Speaker, our sympathies to the family and friends of the late Swanston Carbon. Madam Speaker, I myself have been following the Parliament and debates in the Parliament from a very young age. And I always remember the Honorable Swanston Carbon as a very fiery, very vocal, very vibrant contributor to debates in this House, Madam Speaker. He was the senator who sat on behalf of the government of the day at the time, the Freedom Party, and a very staunch supporter, Madam Speaker, of the Freedom Party. But one of the things I particularly remembered, Madam Speaker, and I may dare say respected and admired about Senator Swanston Carbon, is that, Madam Speaker, he was always forthright and he was always fearless in his contributions, and always placed, Madam Speaker, his contributions clearly and succinctly, Madam Speaker, and always ensured that the ordinary man that he spoke to throughout the length and breadth of Dominica understood clearly what his contributions were and supported, in fact, the government of the day very vociferously, Madam Speaker. And I think he will always be remembered inside and outside of the House. I think Honorable Swanston Carbon, as he then was a very good orator. He He marshaled his points very clearly, and like I said, Madam Speaker, spoke the language that the ordinary Dominican citizen could understand at the time. And the politics, like it is today, Madam Speaker, was very fiery at the time. But at the same time, I believe it was different in the sense that although we had the Freedom Party and we had the Labour Party being in opposition, I don't think that the politics, Madam Speaker, had the kind of venom that we see today from the opposition. We were politicians and we interacted with each other, Madam Speaker, without malice. I remember persons in this house from the opposition side interacting on a regular basis with the members of the government of the day at the time, the Freedom Party. And I believe that they conducted the debates of the House in a spirit of decorum and respect for each other that is very glaringly absent today, both inside and outside the House. And I'm hoping that maybe we all could take a leaf from Senator Carbon, as he was at the time, the late Swanson Carbon's book, that although he supported the government of the day, he made his points, Madam Speaker, but at all times, he always maintained respect for members of the House. And I hope that we all can emulate the great example that he had set as a member of Parliament and generally as a politician in Dominica. Madam Speaker, before I take my seat, let me also extend my condolences to the members and the family members of the late Bill Daniel. Madam Speaker, I believe that he made his contribution in his sphere, in the religious and spiritual sphere, Madam Speaker, and I think generally the entire country looked towards him for spiritual guidance, and that in fact he gave. And I always remember him every independence celebration, Madam Speaker. He was there to lead the country in prayer, and we shall always remember him for his great contribution that he made, because in all things, Madam Speaker, even us in the civil sphere always need the constant prayers and intercessions of those in the spiritual realm, and that Bill Daniel, Reverend Bill Daniel, always gave, and we shall always be grateful for the contribution that he made to our civilization and to our nation building. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, you asked that we be brief. I'm going to be brief. I just want to, Madam Speaker, on my own behalf and on behalf of the people I represent, to express condolences, sympathies to the family, the wife, the family and friends of Senator Swanson Carbon. As you've heard, he was probably the longest serving senator in this parliament. 15 years, I think he was a senator, and he always made his contribution, significant contribution, to the proceedings of this parliament. And also, I think he made his contribution, substantial contribution, to the advancement of the cause of the Dominica Freedom Party. We were in opposition for most of the time that Senator Carbon, Mr. Carbon, was a senator in this parliament, and the Minister for Legal Affairs mentioned the relationship between government and opposition then relative to now. Mr. Carbon, it is interesting to note, has placed on the record his apology to the United Workers' Party for whatever negatives he and others had directed at the United Workers' Party when they did that. And we are thankful for that, Madam Speaker. He apologized to the United Workers' Party for what had happened. After he left the Parliament, I think one of the things that people will miss is his incisive analysis of the issues of the day and his ability to bring to the fore those things that are happening today that are not being done in the interest of the nation. And I'm sure those people who listen to Q95 in particular will miss those interventions that he has been making, analyzing the figures, and when people say the economy is good, he would analyze the figures and say, well, look, it's not as you say. And I didn't say anything. So I think people will miss that on Q95. I don't think they will have been hearing it on the other station. So he has made his contribution, he's made his mark, and I think the country will be grateful to him for that. Also want to extend condolences and sympathies to the wife and family and friends of Bishop Bill Daniel. My closest encounter with him was when he was at Marigot, engaging with us there. I'm not a Pentecostal, I'm a Methodist, but we would, in Marigot, we don't have any issues about religious division, and we come together. So I remember engaging in him there, Madam Speaker. And it has been mentioned, his contribution with respect to leading prayers at the National Day events. And one of the things, Madam Speaker, that I can say about this thing is that when we became the government of the country, United Workers' Party, I was surprised that prayers wasn't part of the events on National Day. So if you look at the records, you will see that it is when the United Workers' Party became the government that that item was put on the agenda, Madam Speaker. And so we are all happy that he was able to play his part in that aspect of the National Day event. And I want again to extend condolences to his family, his wife, his family, and friends. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, good morning. I got trapped by the rain, so I'm hoping that in the near future there will be a portico there that when parliamentarians arrive and it's raining, they can get out of the rain without getting wet. Madam Speaker, I rise to express my condolences to the family of the late Swanson Carbon, his wife, his children, his siblings, and his other relatives, and also to his friends and to his colleagues in the Freedom Party with whom he served in this House in a very honorable manner. Particularly, Madam Speaker, I wish to put on the records my thanks to Senator Carbon for having the fortitude and the courage to apologize publicly on media to the United Workers' Party for things that were said about the United, claims that were made, unfounded claims that were made about the United Workers' Party when we were in government. It's one of the memories that I will take with me when I go to meet him, Madam Speaker, and I'm sure his children will be proud of it. And by that statement of apology, he really has set a benchmark that some of us, if we follow it, would continue to lift up the politics of Dominica. Madam Speaker, I also wish to express my condolences to the late Bishop's Bill Daniels family, who I understand he hails from Boedica, a community that has produced many preachers, some of whom are still very active. So I also wish to express my condolences not just to his family, but to the people of Boedica, because I don't think many people recognize that Boedica, the little community in the southeast, has produced a number of very prominent religious leaders. So certainly it is something that he should be proud of. Madam Speaker, I listened to the eulogy and the other commendations made at Bishop Daniel's funeral, and certainly From the commendations given to him, it is clear that not only was he a teacher of the gospel, but he also followed up his teaching with corporal acts of mercy, which certainly made a difference to the lives of many people. I particularly listened to Mr. Billy Doctrove, and the way he spoke of his friendship and the guidance which he got from Bishop Bill Daniel. I extend my condolences to his family, and I wish them God's strength as they continue through their bereavement. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to also take the opportunity to extend my sympathies and condolences to the family and friends of Bishop Bill Daniel, and I'm doing so on my behalf, on behalf of my family, as well as on behalf of the government and the people of the Roseau South constituency. I wasn't a member of his church, but my daughter and her family, husband and children, were members of his church. And from what I learned from them, that they were there as members, but more so because of the teachings of Bishop Bill Daniel and how he inspired their lives. And I'm sure many more Dominicans can say that he also inspired their lives. But what I admired most, Madam Speaker, of Bishop Bill Daniel was his ability to, in a very natural way, pray. He could articulate and pray in a manner that only Bill Daniel could have done it his way. And we all know of the prayers that he rendered or uttered at our National Day celebrations and at many other official and formal and informal functions. But his ability to express and to espouse the Word of God was certainly something that can be said of him. And in my own remarks, in the book where we were asked to make some comments, my remark was that he was a great Dominican, and I pray that his soul rest in peace. So on behalf of the people of the Roseau South constituency, the Labour Party and the government of Dominica, I wish again to express our condolences and sympathies to his family. As far as the Senator Sanson Carbon is concerned, Madam Speaker, I also want to, on behalf of the people of the Roseau South constituency, to express our sympathies and condolences to his families, in particular the wife and the children, and all the friends of his from the Roseau South constituency and in Dominica generally. Senator Swanston Carbon was in fact an avid member of the Dominica Freedom Party. He was one who was committed to the party, who supported and defended the Dominica Freedom Party whenever he had the opportunity to do so. But I believe that his professionalism in terms of the services that he rendered to Dominica and all his clients, in terms of refrigeration as well as air conditioning, I think certainly goes along very well in terms of the level of service and the level of professionalism that he extended in terms of his work in servicing his clients, his many clients, hundreds of clients that he had in Dominica. So again, Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Dominica Labour Party, the government, and the people of the Roseau South constituency, I again wish to extend my sympathies and condolences to his family and friends, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I too would like to join the other members of Parliament to extend sympathies, condolences to the families and friends of the late Swanston Carbon. I met Mr. Carbon the first time in 1991 when I started working at the BMC. He did maintenance there on the air conditioning units. So that's where I met him, and he was always a very friendly, insightful gentleman. On the Friday, 2 days before his death, I went to the hospital to see a young man, and there I saw Mr. Carbon sitting, and he told me he was there for about a week, and that was his first time he was having something to eat or drink. He had some emergency surgeries, and it was shocking to hear on the Sunday morning that he passed on, because he was sitting on his bed, and we had a conversation for about 5 minutes. But I seemed doing pretty well, and then to hear of his passing, I must say, the family, the friends, supporters of the Freedom Party, Dominica has lost a great son, and I would like to extend once again sympathies to Mrs. Corinthia Carbon and the family. Sympathies from the people of Salisbury, Kulibistri, Monrachet, and the entire United Workers' Party family. Also like to extend sympathies to the late Pastor Bill Daniel of the People's Pentecostal Church, a gentleman that I met a few times at a few functions, very friendly gentleman, very soft-spoken, but he was a man of purpose in terms of his religious life and what the messages that he bring out to the people of Dominica. So I would like, on behalf of the people of Salisbury, Kulibistri, and Monrachet, I would also like to extend sympathies to Pastor Daniel, the family of Pastor Daniel, and also the Pentecostal fraternity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I wish to place on the record my condolences to the family, wife, daughters, and grandson, and family, and the wider Pentecostal community in this country. My condolences on the passing of Bishop Bill Daniel. I had known Bishop Daniel for a very long time. He every year prayed for the nation and for its people at our independence celebration. And I'm sure those prayers brought many blessings on the people of Dominica and this country. And you recall he was part of the process and the decision and the ceremony to dedicate this country to Christ. A decision which we felt was a very important one, recognizing the divinity and the supremacy of the Lord Jesus. He has passed on, but I know for a fact that he has left many disciples who will continue to labor in the vineyard and to continue winning souls for our journey to heaven. So I want to extend my condolences to his wife and family. Madam Speaker, I also want to extend condolences to the family, the wife and family and friends and well-wishers of the late Swanston Carbon. I heard the member for Marigot indicate that Mr. Swanston Carbon apologized to him. To the party, I'm not sure whether that also included the members lying on Eugenia Charles. This is on the Boggin incident. And whether Mr. Michael Astafan should refund the $72,000 which Mr. James paid as a result of a court decision for lying on Dame Eugenia Charles. But Madam Speaker, Mr. Carbon served this country very well as a senator. We always admired and appreciated his contribution in the House and outside the House. And I'm sure the politics of Dominica will miss his contribution. Whether you disagreed or you agreed with him, he was a very forceful speaker, very articulate speaker. And I'm sure the politics will certainly miss him. So I want again to extend to his wife, to his children, to his grandchildren, his family, and our deepest condolences. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I too would like to add my sentiments to those already expressed, and I would have to say that Bishop Daniel, to me, was an inspiration to all Christians. His demeanor, his attitude, his words were so believable and convincing that whether you were minded to or not, you had to listen to him. He did inspire a whole generation of Christians, and he will be missed, but he will not be easily forgotten. I would really like to extend my condolences to his widow and his children and the members of his congregation and to all of us, because he represented all of us in Dominica, because we are Christian people, and so I would really like to endorse all that has been said about him today. Mr. Carbon too, I would like to extend condolences to his widow and the children, and in particular to his daughter, who's a nurse, who I amazingly met when my little granddaughter was in hospital. She happened to have been one of the nurses there, and I was introduced to her as a Dominican at the hospital. And of course, you know how Dominicans, when they're abroad, they gravitate towards each other. So particularly to her, I would like to extend my condolences, and of course the rest of the family. Can we move to the next? No confirmation of minutes.
Yes. Confirmation of minutes of the meeting of Wednesday 23rd, Thursday 24th, Friday 25th, Monday 28th, and Tuesday 29th July 2014.
Madam Speaker, I move that the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday 23rd, Thursday 24th, Friday 25th, Monday 28th, and Tuesday 29th July 2014 be confirmed as circulated.
Madam Speaker, before that is done, Madam Speaker, the minutes are referred to on page 2 with respect to persons present government side. It says Honorable Alvin Bernard, Minister for National Security, Labor and Immigration, acting. I'm proposing that acting be removed, Madam Speaker, because as far as I understand, he's a full-fledged minister. Or is that not so?
I am not going to accept this now, because I don't think that I know anything about it to deal with
but these are minutes that we are seeking to confirm. So if a member...
Were you present? Were you present?
Pardon?
Usually it's the people who are present at a meeting.
No, this has nothing to do with who present, Madam Speaker.
Well, I really don't know.
I'm asking that the minutes...
I shall inquire, and if the amendment is necessary to be made, I will deal with it. I can remember, so I have not seen anything that lets me know through the House that it is acting. Okay. I have not seen anything come through the Parliament that lets me know that he is a minister.
You haven't?
I have not seen, I did not say there's nothing. I said I have not seen anything come to me. It could have come when I was overseas. Now the member...
Put the motion to the members, Madam Speaker. Put the motion to the members.
Will the member let us proceed with the business of the House? Thank you. You've made your point. You on radio saying what you had to say. You've made your point. Can we proceed? Can we?
I'm saying that you are finding that offensive.
Well,
you're trying to suggest to me that I'm doing something here because I'm on radio. I find that offensive, man. I'm asking you to withdraw it.
You don't stand up prayer. Not a prayer. The member, if I were to tell you the amount of things that all of us here have found offensive, we'd be here all day not proceeding with the business of the House. So let us move on. We have a seconder? Good. So therefore, I'm putting it to the House for purposes of thing. He's smiling. I'm glad something was able to catch your humor. It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday 23rd, Thursday 24th, Friday 25th, Monday 28th, and Tuesday 29th of July 2014 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The minutes stand confirmed.
Announcements by Speaker.
Once again, I must report to this Honorable House and to our viewers and our listeners of the wonderful cooperation that continues with SAT and mapping and, well, with GIS through SAT and mapping to bring you these proceedings live. And I want to thank those persons from mapping, the employees who come here and do whatever they have to do to assist in this arrangement. I need to call on the members to recognize that the Deputy Speaker is not here today, so I'm asking that someone be called upon to deputize for him. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honorable Sam Martin, the member for the Soufriere constituency, be considered by the Parliament for the post of Acting Deputy Speaker of the House.
You can bring an alternative proposal if you wish.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honorable Senator Dayton Baptist.
It can be a senator. It has to, no, it can't be.
No, it can be. Madam Speaker, it can be. Check it now, check it. Sanson Carbon was a senator.
Well,
and it can be, Madam Speaker. Yeah, it can be a speaker. It can be a
I don't think that's correct. The deputy
speaker can be a senator.
Okay.
So
have you asked the member if he's willing?
Madam Speaker, I move that the member.
Can you ask him?
But you did not ask him whether he asked this gentleman.
Well,
you didn't ask him that.
The dynamics of the House is such that I must ask. The dynamics of the House are such that I need to ask.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the nomination of Senator Baptist.
He has declined. So therefore, it has been moved and seconded that the member for Soufriere, Honorable Sam Martin, deputize for the Deputy Speaker. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I will ask Honorable Sam Martin to come and sit near to me so that if I need to rise, he can come into the chair. As far as I recall, this is not the first time. Okay, we are on to now number 6.
Presentation of papers.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table schedule of supplementary appropriation for the 3rd and 4th quarter 2014. That is January to June 2014.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table. Dominica Broadcasting Corporation financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2013.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table. Dominica Air and Support Authority, Security and Passenger Facility Charges, Regulations 2014.
Government notices.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that I shall be moving the bills standing in my name and also the motion standing in my name on the other paper.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceeding, I shall be presenting the bill standing in my name on the other paper. Madam Speaker. Correction, please, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled National Parks and Protected Areas Amendment Act 2014 standing in my name on the other paper be withdrawn in accordance with Standing Order number 67. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, at a later stage of, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of, oh, very well, very well. Indeed. Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled an act to amend the National Parks and Protected Areas, Chapter 4202, be withdrawn. Those in favor? Those against?
Madam Speaker, in accordance with the same 67, could I indicate that I would take charge of the bill because it talks about another member?
Pardon?
Another member can take.
It has been withdrawn, so there's nothing to take charge of.
Oh, okay. On the 67, it says another member could.
Well, it's been withdrawn.
Oh, okay.
You were a little tad in standing to say so.
Yeah. Well, you haven't put in the vote yet.
Yes, they answered.
Oh, they answered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Member is not paying attention.
Yes, I was. But Matthew, something else. But you stood up to move the matter. You didn't know in my hotel.
Next, please.
You see,
wait a while. Yes.
To give notice at a later stage of the proceedings, I shall be taking all three readings of the bill standing in my name on the other paper.
Madam Speaker, at the later stage of the proceedings, I beg to give notice that I'll be taking all three readings of the bills in my name.
Okay. Next.
Unofficial notices.
Madam Madam Speaker, at the legislative proceeding, I'll be asking the question in my name on the other paper.
But you're not first, you know, the other member is first. First is first, she should do first.
No, only not oral. Only for written.
Oh, oral, oh.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody has a cell phone going here. In the courts, you know, they take them and you have to pay a charity the value of the phone to get it back. Wait, next one. 9.
Questions?
Will the Honorable Minister for Lands, Housing, Settlements and Water Resources Management inform this Honorable House of the following pertaining to petrol carriage? A. What is the quantity of fuel and LPG sold to date? B. What is the value of the quantity sold? C. What amount has been repaid to date and provide a breakdown of the payments? D. What is the amount held in banking institution in Dominica? E. How much is due and outstanding to the Venezuelan authorities under the agreement? And F. What agreements are being made to pay this amount?
Madam Speaker, PDV Caribbean Dominica Limited Petro-Carib is a joint venture company. The partners are the Dominica National Petroleum Company, a corporation organized under the Dominica and PDV Caribbean SA, a corporation organized under the laws of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The information being requested by the honorable member for the Salisbury constituency and leader of the opposition, Mr. Hector John, can usually be found from annual financial statements of the company, and the case of PDV Caribbean is no exception. Thank you. You're welcome.
Next.
Supplementary, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, will the minister inform this Honourable House whether he has submitted the financial statements to the Parliament?
Can you tell me how that comes into the question? Because I don't see anything like that there.
But Madam Speaker, the answer to the question is
no, wait a minute. Hear me well. Supplementals have to be related to what has been asked already. Yes, I'm asking you how that fits in.
Yes, because the answer given to the question is
Forget about the answer given. Tell me about the question.
The answer is about, the answer he gave is that the information is in the financial statements. But these financial statements have not been brought to the Parliament to my knowledge, nor are they public documents. So there's no way we can get that information. They have not been made public. So so the members, the minister's answer does not meet the requirements of the rule, Madam Speaker.
And what rule would you be talking about, please?
The rule pertaining to the answers to questions, Madam Speaker.
I'm not in for tautology this morning. Let's proceed, please. Lights. Do put on the lights. Okay, can we move on, please? Pardon? No, I'm not accepting any further supplementaries. We're moving on. Okay, right. Now, can we move on, please? We are on to statement by ministers 10.
Statement by ministers.
Okay, 11. Next, please.
Introduction of bills.
move that the bill shortly entitled Income Tax Amendment Act 2014 be read a first time.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
You have two others.
Second one. Black, white. Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled.
No, we have to go through a process with it. The clerk. Come, please. Do we have a seconder? Okay.
Income Tax Amendment Act 2014.
The bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Value Added Tax Amendment Act 2014 be read a first time.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
The bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Supplementary Appropriation 2013-2014, number 2, Act 2014, be read the first time.
Madam Speaker.
Customs.
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Customs Act number 2014, number Customs Amendment Act 2014 be read the first time.
The bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move that a bill shortly entitled Magistrates Code of Procedure Act Amendment Act 2014 be read the first time.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
The bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Police Amendment Act 2014 be read the first time.
Police Amendment Act 2014.
The bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move that the second reading of the bill shortly entitled my apologies. I move that the bill shortly entitled Police Pensions Amendment Act 2014 be read a first time.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
The bill has been read a first time. 12. Number 12.
Public business, government business, motions.
Supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2014. Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the supplementary estimates of expenditure for the period 1st January 2014 to 30th June 2014, amounting to $45,056,927.22, the details of which are contained in the attached schedule.
Seconded.
Madam Speaker, the supplementary estimate totaling $45,056,927.22 represent advances made from the contingencies fund for the period January to June 2014. This presentation is in accordance with the provisions of Section 81 of the Commonwealth of Dominica Constitution Order 1978, as well as Section 12 of the Finance Administration Act, Act Number 4 of 1994. These statutes allow the government the flexibility of incurring expenditure not originally approved in the annual budget and subsequently seeking approval of the Parliament for such spending. The sums were appropriated as follows: 32% or $14,644,845.19 was financed from local resources. 51% or $23,038,483.17 was paid from loan funds, and 16% or $7,383,608.86 was grant funded. Madam Speaker, I will now give details of the expenditure which was incurred for the above stated period. In respect to the Ministry of National Security, a total allocation of $1,900,000 was appropriated to meet contractual obligations for the construction of the Lap Lane Police Station. This represents an amount over and above what was appropriated in 2013-2014 budget. This project is well advanced and we look forward to the completion very soon. Madam Speaker, the sum of $486,696 was allocated to the Electoral Office. $241,896 were required to meet expenses incurred for additional activities relating to the holding of Village Council elections. $244,800 were appropriated for the engagement of a legal draftsman to review the electoral laws as it pertains to the implementation of the multi-purpose identification card. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Trade received an additional $1,195,411.41. Of this total, $450,000 were allocated to the Small Business Development Project to provide assistance to small hotels. The support of these small businesses is to assist with the upgrading and enhancing of the tourism accommodation facilities. Under the multi-purpose park house project, an additional $745,411.41 was approved by the CARICOM Development Fund for project implementation. Remedial works and the provision of equipment are being undertaken at the 2 park houses at Roseau and Portsmouth. Input support is being provided to farmers in an effort to increase the acreage of hot peppers, dasheen, and
plantains. Marketing support will also be provided for improving the design and packaging materials of these crops in an effort to enhance the presentation and quality, thereby making them more export ready. Madam Speaker, in respect to the Office of the Prime Minister, the sum of $250,470.19 was approved to meet expenses for the state funeral of the late His Excellency Vernon L. Shaw, arrears of remuneration due to members of the Public and Police Service Commissions, costs associated with the installation of His Excellency Charles Savre, and operation and maintenance activities in the Office of the Prime Minister. In respect of the Ministry of Finance, Madam Speaker, grant funding from the Banana Accompanying Measures Program, BAM, was approved in a sum of $673,767.83 to meet the cost of administration to enable the commencement of the project. Madam Speaker, I take the opportunity to give a short update on the status of the BAM. I am advised that all the feeder roads selected and prioritized by the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry for rehabilitation under the BAM have been surveyed, and estimates for the rehabilitation works have been prepared for the engagement of private consultants, as well as staff of the Ministry of Public Works and Lands and Surveys Division. The companies, both local and regional, have been invited to tender for the validation and supervision of works, to be undertaken in 2 phases for the rehabilitation of the feeder roads selected and prioritized. This will include verification of the selected roads and verification approval of engineering drawings and pre-construction cost estimates. The indicative timetable for this project is as follows. 1. Deadline for submission of tenders for supervision, 12 September 2014. 2. Start of supervision contract, 1st October 2014. 3. Deadline for publication of tender for the works, 30th November 2014. 3. Deadline for submission of tenders for works, 31st December 2014. 5. Tender evaluation and award of contracts, January 2015. 6. Commencement of works, February 2015. Also, under the BAM, grant financing in the sum of $255,086.63 was approved for citrus certification for the construction of composting bays at the Botanic Gardens and purchase of equipment. The fight against the black sigatoka disease continues. In an effort to curb and manage the disease, approval was given for an additional $49,996.38 to be used for the procurement of chemicals. Madam Speaker, finally, in respect to BAM, we all have to appreciate that the processes, all of which have been announced here, have to get the final approval of the European Union. Madam Speaker, during this period, $565,130.26 were made available to the Ministry of Agriculture. There was approval of $244,716 for operational expenses under the Waitikubuli National Trail Unit. Madam Speaker, government continues to demonstrate its unwavering commitment to human resource development in this country. An additional sum of $2 million was allocated to the recurrent budget in the Ministry of Education to meet commitments for tertiary education for Dominican students. Also, a further $40,000 had to be appropriated under the receipt of a donation for the National Development Bank for the primary school math power contest. Madam Speaker, in respect to the Ministry of Lands, Housing, Settlements, and Water Resource Management, $5,241,927.42 were appropriated as follows. 1. An amount of $2,082,089.57 allocated to land settlement and development to facilitate payments
for land acquired by the government. 2, under the West Coast Water Supply, an additional $2,076,807.60 was approved for commitments as per contractual agreement. This project is in keeping with the government's goal of providing 100% coverage of safe and reliable potable water for the citizens of this country. The project activities include laying of pipes and construction of storage tanks, which will significantly improve the coverage and water quality for communities from Salisbury all the way up to Capuchin. 3, what's that? Additional sum of $495,000 was approved for Silver Lake Housing to facilitate contractual obligations for the ongoing construction of the apartment building. We are pleased, Madam Speaker, that this project has been completed and that the benefiting families have now taken up residence. Government will move shortly to construct the second set of apartments, Madam Speaker. As a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon, we'll be handing over the documents to the families there. You don't come to those things. 5, Madam Speaker, 4, Madam Speaker, the third water supply project which seeks to upgrade and repair the intake, infrastructure and equipment in the WA1 network is being implemented with a loan from the CDB. However, Madam Speaker, $104,230.25, $104,230.25 were approved from local resources as a counterpart contribution for the engineering consultancy. 6, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, in December 2013, a trough system affected the island and several areas were affected by floods and landslides. There were many persons who were affected by these floods. Grant assistance was received from the government of India in the sum of $483,800, and this amount was appropriated for assistance to victims who suffered damage due to inclement weather system. Madam Speaker, the outbreak of chikungunya disease required an acceleration of the vector control activities of the Ministry of Health to stem the spread of the disease. In that regard, an amount of $75,197.12 was approved from local resources. Madam Speaker, the World Bank approved a loan for the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, aims to reduce the vulnerability of national hazards and climate change impacts in Dominica through investment in resilient infrastructure, as well as improving hazard data collection and monitoring system. $60,065.04 were disbursed from the loan resources to meet the cost of training local personnel so as to commence project implementation. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism and Legal Affairs received approval for $355,444 for the purpose of meeting litigation costs. The Ministry of Culture received additional funds of $76,728 from local resources for the preparation of the grounds of the Windsor Park Stadium for the international cricket matches between West Indies and New Zealand. And Madam Speaker, next year, Dominica will host West Indies and Australia at the Windsor Park Stadium. Madam Speaker, as always, the White Elephant Stadium, you're always perched up there. Madam Speaker, appropriation totaling $584,216.78 was approved for the Personnel Services Department for meeting payments for communication, janitorial, and security services, as the budgeted amount proved insufficient for the requested services provided during the year. Madam Speaker, a substantial part of this supplementary expenditure, $31,400,000,
$453,146.23, or 69%, was towards infrastructural development being undertaken by the Ministry of Public Works. Under the grant funding from the government of Venezuela, an additional sum of $2,429,631.81 was approved for meeting contractual obligations for the Penville-Vickers Road rehabilitation. Approval was given for $1,998,564.45 for the Pidis-Savan to Boutica-Delis Road rehabilitation to meet contractual commitments with respect to ongoing construction works. Madam Speaker, we may recall the damage caused with the passage of Tropical Storm Ophelia. The Dominica National Petroleum Company provided a grant of $3,501,322.59 to assist with the improvement of the road infrastructure that was affected during that storm and which suffered further deterioration as a result of subsequent heavy rains. This amount was appropriated to the road rehabilitation project, and the following works have been done. Granford Road, in Granford, Madam Speaker, road and drainage rehabilitation. Mount Prosper, road and drainage rehabilitation. Lubia, road and drainage rehabilitation. Girardel Eggleston, road improvement. Coptal, road improvement. Lale Coco, rehabilitation and asphalt surfacing. Campbell, asphalt surfacing. Massac, construction of concrete road. Madam Speaker, the 24th December 2013 resulted in flash flooding, landslides, rock slides, and affected several areas in Dominica, particularly the south of the island. While there were no reports of deaths, several homes and businesses were flooded, which resulted in damage of property and loss of personal belongings. The CDB approved an immediate response rehabilitation loan so as to enable the Ministry of Public Works to undertake emergency and cleanup operation works following the torrential rains. The amount appropriated was $2,016,150. Madam Speaker, due to the increase in costs of the utility services, the sum of $2,400,000 was appropriated. The cost of electricity is still of concern for the government, and the geothermal initiative is expected to bring some relief in this area. Madam Speaker, an additional $10,921,510.79 was approved to be spent on the geothermal project. Specifically,
I'm sorry to disturb you, but certain persons have their cell phones too close to the mic. There's a terrible feedback, and it's humming on the radio and television. Can you can you just ensure that they are not close to the mic, please? Continue.
Madam Speaker, an additional $10,921,510.79 was approved to be spent on the geothermal project, specifically for the preparation and drilling of the reinjection well. Earlier this year, flow tests to determine the generation capacity of the production well were undertaken, and these were very successful. The funding was made available by the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD. Approval of $790,620.66 from local funds was for the Roseau to Melville Hall Road to meet government's contribution to the project. An additional $7,395,345.93 was appropriated to account for the amount provided from the AFD loan to meet all the contractual works for the bridges and other activities so as to enable completion of the project. Madam Speaker, despite the many challenges
that have been faced on this project, it is nearing completion. Our citizens have already praised the efforts of the government on this undertaking, and users have indicated the enhanced driving experience and the security and the safety of driving from Roseau to Melville Airport. Madam Speaker, $95,726.94 was approved for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to assist with meeting additional operational expenses incurred. Madam Speaker, in light of the above, I recommend for the approval of this Honorable House the supplementary estimate in the sum of $45,056,927.22, which was spent between the months January to June 2014. By any measure, Madam Speaker, that's a lot of money to be spent in a small country like Dominica in this short period of time, which is extra budgetary, is on top of the budget and the amount we spend that have been appropriated by the Parliament. And so, Madam Speaker, when they say nothing is happening, look at what's happening in Dominica and how much money the government is spending to improve the way of life of the people of this country and creating a better country called Dominica. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The bill is now before the House for debate.
Madam Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the matter before the House, the matter of the supplementary estimates of 45 million plus, which the Prime Minister boasts is a lot of money to spend, and I agree with him. But I also agree that it is really a large amount of money that was not planned for. So it really speaks volumes to the erratic nature of the planning of the budget. Madam Speaker, before I go into the estimates, I want to take this opportunity to, as one of the outgoing members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, as one of the outgoing members of Parliament, and as this Parliament, the life of this Parliament comes to an end as well, I want to take the opportunity to thank the people of Roseau for the unwavering support extended to me over the 25 years I have served them in their community as a member of Parliament. For the last 10 years, I have been their representative, and before that, as a senator here in Parliament. I want to say to the people of Roseau, however, that I am still with you. I will not be in Parliament as your representative, but I've been grooming a very capable young man in the name of Mr. Joseph Isaac to follow in my footsteps. I can assure you he is of Roseau from River Street, a roots man, and I'll be working very closely with Mr. Isaac to ensure that the Roseau Central constituency continues to get
excuse me, please, can the member just alert me to where we are in the scheme of things? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, continue.
That is my farewell speech, Madam Speaker.
It is?
It is my farewell speech.
Okay, but don't make it too long, because you really need to be doing the business at hand. You might not have left time left.
Even that you deny me.
No, oh my goodness. I actually said yes, but don't make it too long. You see, I'm denying you. The member does not understand the negative from a positive. That's my conclusion.
Make it as long as I want, Madam Speaker.
No, we have to work within the rules. The member have accommodating you within the rules.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
You're most welcome.
So, Madam Speaker, on the elections it's appropriate.
Yes.
We have the item here for elections. I will not be standing for elections in the forthcoming general elections. I am imploring the members of both sides of government, both sides of parliament who are standing for elections to try to keep the electoral debate and the election debate at a high level, because Dominica needs to hear about the important issues, the economic issues and the social issues that impact on their lives. It is not really, beg your pardon? No, I'm not going to take out anybody. I'm just saying, who the cap fit, let them wait. Okay, so Madam Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to thank from the bottom of my heart the people of Roseau for their tremendous support over the years. I've enjoyed serving you. Serving the people of Roseau has made me a better person. I've come to learn of your problems very intimately. You have taught me a lot. I have learned of your suffering. I've helped where I could. And I feel very satisfied. Except, Madam Speaker, that I have regrets that during the years that I have been in opposition, particularly the young people of Roseau, the government, the Labour Party government, which has been there for 15 years, has not addressed their concerns. And here in the estimates, for example, for example, under item D44, the stadium, item D44, for $74,000 for preparation of the grounds of the Windsor Park Sports Stadium for the international cricket matches between West Indies and New Zealand. Madam Speaker, it is actually 15 years since the community of Roseau has been deprived of the use of Windsor Park. Windsor Park used to be the community recreation center for the young people of Roseau, for the young women where they played their netball, young men played their basketball, young men played their cricket and their football. A plan was developed by United Workers' Party to develop Windsor Park into a multi-purpose stadium which would include international cricket grounds, international football field, and a multi-purpose enclosed gymnasium for other sports like basketball, netball, tennis, and other community meetings. In addition to this, right next to the stadium, Madam Speaker, the design included the development of a community playing field and practice field for international footballers. Madam, I go out with a very, very heavy heart that after 15 years of appealing to government to at least construct this community field, that up to this moment, there is no community field constructed for Roseau. 2 years ago, when government brought some equipment there and began to clear the land, I felt hopeful. I tried to encourage the project. I recall the senator who contested against me in the last election coming on television and assuring the people of Roseau that this project is going to be built immediately and that it's going to have a number of the facilities that I've been asking for. It was with real sadness that up to this moment, the project is back in bush. The land is back in bush. And then we are still hearing from the government promises.
Excuse me, can I ask the member, please, are you still on the swan song or have you?
I am on the stadium Windsor Park Stadium.
On the Windsor Park Stadium?
That is correct, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Windsor Park Stadium.
Okay.
So up to this moment, Madam Speaker, the Windsor Park Community Field, which was part of the stadium project, Madam Speaker, has not been done. It has resulted in a lot of young people's lives going astray, because as you know, sports is one of the most important developmental and formation avenues for young people. And I mean, this is accepted worldwide. And here in Roseau, unfortunately, they have been dealt a very, very rough deal by this Labour Party government over the last 15 years. I want to assure the people of Roseau that although I'm not going to be in Parliament, but Mr. Joseph Isaac, who will be the next MP for Roseau Central, is a person who is a dedicated sportsman. He'll be working to ensure that this field is constructed. The United Workers' Party team, Dominica, has committed itself to it, and I myself will be there to ensure that the field is developed for the full development of the young people of Roseau. I will also continue to work with you through the Roseau Improvement Committee, the younger people, to help you to develop yourselves through sports, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the item D52. The Penville D52, Madam Speaker, $2.4 million to meet contractual obligations in respect of the Penville Vickers Road Rehabilitation Project, Madam Speaker. And it's a pity that the MP for the Penville area has gone out, because as soon as I mention this, I notice he's no longer there. Madam Speaker, this Penville Vickers Road is a component of a bigger project which was conceptualized and designed whilst the United Workers' Party was in government. That project is what you call the Northern Ecotourism Link project. It consisted of constructing a new piece of road from Gillett to Penville, and then upgrading the piece of road from Penville all the way to Blenheim in order to bring economic activity, particularly in tourism, to that belt, to the people of Penville, people of Vickers, people of Thibault, people of Carey, people of Laho and Delaford, and of course the people of Cottage and Capuchin as well, Madam Speaker. The project was started under the United Workers' Party. This government came into office 15 years ago, Madam Speaker, and what you are seeing here is a classic example of a member of Parliament failing his constituency. Madam Speaker, the member of Parliament for the Penville Vickers Thibault constituency completely failed to bring the economic development to that constituency. The economic development he met planned. All that was required was to continue the development of the road and then to continue to sort of encourage the cruise and tourism development in the area. Madam Speaker, we saw a classic example in the Penville area a month ago of the kind of highlighting the tourism opportunities that are available there. A month ago, we saw Mr. Alex Birmingham, the candidate for Team Dominica for Penville, organizing a kite festival in one of the most pristine parts of Dominica, the Cole Soufriere. The Cole Soufriere was one of the main motivating economic sites in that area that convinced donors, the European Union and the people and the Republic of China, Madam Speaker, to make the money available for that ecotourism link. And it is really, really, really a big, big disappointment on the part of Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, the MP for the Penville constituency, that he failed for 15 years to upgrade that road so that tours could be developed from the Cabrits, through Delaford, through Laho, through Penville, through Vickers, through Thibault, Blenheim, Chaudon, and back to Portsmouth. I mean, it is disappointing. The Minister of Tourism is aware of the potential because he's from Portsmouth. And I need to say, so many occasions you have heard the medical students sort of praising how beautiful that, when you go to Col Soufrière and you look across and you see the panoramic scenery, you see Guadeloupe, you see the Saints, you envision the Battle of the Saints between Nelson and Villeneuve in that strait. These are things, Madam Speaker, that were part of the heritage development plan for that area, but they all depended on the upgrading of that road, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is very sad that even this $2.5 million that is going into this road is still not going to bring the economic development. It rests again on United Workers' Party to come back into government to really bring the tourism development into the Penville, Vickers, and Thibault areas. And Madam Speaker, Team Dominica has the ability to do it. We conceptualize it. They didn't do it. When we get into there the next election, we will do it, Madam Speaker. And I say to the people of Penville and Vickers, the people of Penville and Vickers, and Mr. Alex Birmingham, you have a man from Penville who is committed to the people of Penville. He's the son of Penville. It is the first time.
Just one moment, please.
It is Penville's time, Madam Speaker.
Just one moment, please. Can we save the campaigning for the platform and let's deal with the issue at hand? You are not dealing with it to my satisfaction. Good. And so I've been asking you to refrain from, doing your publicity. Deal with the issue at hand on the road. Thank you. So since I have not gone yet, I'm going to stick to the rules. How about that? And I think you should too.
Madam Speaker, that Penville Road, even the $2.5 million that's been spent on it now, is a far cry from the integrated development and financing that is required to really bring economic development to the Penville community, to the Vickers community, and to the Thibault community, Madam Speaker. And clearly, this is a beginning, and it is a signal that it is Penville time, and it will take a Penville man to really develop Penville, Madam Speaker. And I'm sure the people of Penville will recognize.
Your mic. Lord knows.
The fact that another reinjection well had to be constructed, Madam Speaker, at Loda, at a cost of $10 million, Madam Speaker, is a confirmation of the reckless and unscientific approach that this government has adopted towards the development of the geothermal resources. Madam Speaker, let me just say that the United Workers' Party puts the safety of the people of the Roseau Valley, the Roseau catchment, Roseau North, Roseau South, Roseau Central, all of whom are in the impact area of the geothermal, Madam Speaker. We put the safety of the people first. And therefore, Madam Speaker, as we continue to pursue renewable sources of energy in Dominica, we will do the proper scientific things and do the proper EIA to ensure that as we proceed with geothermal, Madam Speaker, the correct scientific approaches are adopted, the proper EIAs are adopted, the proper consultation with the people is done, Madam Speaker, so that whenever geothermal energy is realized, Madam Speaker, it will be done in a safe way and to the benefit of the people, Madam Speaker, and for the development of the Roseau Valley, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have advocated, Madam Speaker, that United Workers' Party's approach will be to do the science and to set up a pilot project and to monitor that pilot project over 5 to 10 years in order to be able to assess and ascertain the further risks that at this point are unknown and cannot be known, Madam Speaker, until such time as you have studied for at least 5 to 10 years, Madam Speaker. That is the approach which Guadeloupe has taken, Madam Speaker, and even after 25 years, Madam Speaker, Guadeloupe is still proceeding very, very cautiously. Coming back, Madam Speaker, to that, the need for a new reinjection well. Madam Speaker, this project, when it was designed, and the designs are on the net, identified the Lily Valley area as the suitable area for the reinjection well. The government engaged a company at a cost of the same $10 million, Madam Speaker, or thereabouts, to dig a reinjection well at Lily Valley. Madam Speaker, the company dug to the prescribed depth. Failure. They keep digging, more failure. They dig, they dig, they dig. Madam Speaker, when they couldn't dig again, they had to put their hands up. And the government agreed that they had sunk almost $15 million into that false well, Madam Speaker. And therefore, they had to abandon there. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, if you are doing such a major project, if you have followed the proper scientific assessments, Madam Speaker, if you have done the hydraulic studies below and the geologic studies below, Madam Speaker, wouldn't you have determined that the Lily Valley area cannot accommodate a reinjection well, Madam Speaker? Would you have poured $15 million down the drain, down the well, Madam Speaker, for a false well? Why should I watch the Speaker, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, let me say to this Parliament, right, that kind of reckless spending of government money that has been embarked on by this government, Madam Speaker, has costed the people of Dominica a lot of hardship. It has caused us a lot of hardship. It's for reasons like that, it is because of that kind of wastage, Madam Speaker, that I can stand here, Madam Speaker, based on the analysis and say to the people of Dominica that if they were to make a mistake and re-elect the Labour Party, then the price of electricity from geothermal would continue to go higher and higher and higher. Because right now, Madam Speaker, the project is already facing overruns to the tune of almost $25 million. And, Madam Speaker, to bring geothermal to the point, Madam Speaker, where electricity can be generated to construct the plant, to put in the transmission systems and so forth, you're looking at investments in the region of over $100 million additional. There is no way, Madam Speaker, the kind of wastage and cost overrun that this project is already submitted to, Madam Speaker, than geothermal ever bring the price of electricity down in Dominica. I understand, Madam Speaker, that based on where the project is right now, it will take at least 5 years of diligent work. 5 years of diligent work to be able to realize electricity from the project up in Loda, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I stress diligent scientific work. So the people of Dominica, United Workers' Party is going to come into government. We will immediately take certain steps to reduce the price of electricity. One of them is that we will cut the markup, the high markup and the high profit. The high markup.
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please.
Madam Speaker, recognizing that it will take at least 5 years of diligent work from where we are in the geothermal exploration now, first of all, to correct the bad work that has been done, and then to do the proper work in a scientific way, and then to construct whatever plant and transmission system, Madam Speaker. The United Workers' Party government, when it comes into office at the coming election, will take concrete steps to reduce the price of electricity to the people of Dominica now. One of those steps will be to cut down on the profits Domlec is making. Madam Speaker, Domlec is a monopoly. And it is a monopoly. It has always been. Electricity has always been a monopoly in Dominica. The other step we are going to take, Madam Speaker, is to encourage other investors to get into the hydro development of small hydro plants in various parts of the island, in the northeast, in the northeast, in the north, Madam Speaker. On the west coast, there are rivers. There's the Laia River, there's the Makushu River, there's the Picard River on the west coast, Madam Speaker. All three, Madam Speaker, have the potential to generate electricity, Madam Speaker. And we have the technology and the know-how and the experience, Madam Speaker, in hydroelectricity production, Madam Speaker. When you go to the east, the Roseau River, you continue to the northeast, the Melvin Hall River, the River Blanc, the Rosalie River, thanks for reminding me, the Rosalie River. So, Madam Speaker, we will reduce the cost of electricity, Madam Speaker. We will reduce the cost of electricity. So, Madam Speaker, let me just say that it is very unfortunate that this government has not taken proper professional advice, and they have politicized the approach to renewable energy development, Madam Speaker, trying to tell us that they're going to sell electricity to Martinique and Guadeloupe. Espoir mal papai. Because, Madam Speaker...
Stop, please. Yes,
Madam
please.
Speaker,
let me hear you.
that means, Madam Speaker, male papai will make flowers all the time, but you'll never get fruit.
That is not so the translation. You're giving, there's a difference between an explanation and a translation. Okay. What they need is a translation.
Okay. Hope of the male papa to make papai. Okay? So, Madam Speaker.
Shall I assist you?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
L'espoir mal papai. the thought of a male pawpaw tree.
Thank you very much, Madam.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. At least we are living on much more amicable terms. I must say we are living on much more amicable terms than before. So let's keep it that way.
I am a very reaction person. I'm reacting to your goodwill.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. So, Madam Speaker.
You're talking too much on that side.
Let them talk, let them talk. Madam Speaker. Eyes popping, his eyes popping up.
But you know, the loudest voice I heard is the one that just spoke.
To continue, Madam Speaker, to continue,
I
Madam
said the
Speaker,
one that just spoke. You commit yourself.
The propaganda that the government has been spreading that they're going to sell electricity, geothermal electricity to Martinique and Guadeloupe, Madam Speaker, is a false propaganda because Guadeloupe has 3 times our potential, Martinique has 3 times our potential. They are not expanding because of the safety considerations, and we are going to follow the similar model of following the safety measures, Madam Speaker, as we move along. Madam Speaker, as we continue, I now turn, Madam Speaker, to item D50, Madam Speaker, professional and consultancy services, Madam Speaker, to meet payment to contractors for the provision of janitorial and security services. Madam Speaker, here is
You have 4 minutes left, eh?
How many? Here is another, what I would call, very unfortunate, crime almost against poor people, Madam Speaker, committed by this government. Madam Speaker, this government fired all the messengers, the cleaners, the security men, gave the contracts to private henchmen of theirs, Madam Speaker, saying it will be cheaper, and now they're coming back for more money to pay the contractors, Madam Speaker, although the contractors fired a number of the higher paid ones and cut the salaries of those they maintained. And then, Madam Speaker, the government is now coming to the people of Dominica before the election under an NEP offering people temporary employment when they fired the low-paid people that government were employing permanently, saying that they cannot employ them permanently, go to contractors, and now you're coming here trying to fool people to tell them you're going to employ them, and so forth. So, Madam Speaker, the people who are getting the little temporary jobs must know they are temporary. But when the United Workers' Party takes over this economy and the economy starts to grow, government will be in a position, our government, the United Workers' Party government, to expand the employment, to create the 5,000 jobs that are required, Madam Speaker, to make things. Finally, Madam Speaker, I come to item D34, Madam Speaker. Additional resources required to complete the Silver Lake housing. Madam Speaker, another what you'd call overpriced project where government is passing excess money to their friends. That project is priced at over $1.2 million, Madam Speaker. Every reasonable assessment of the value of that project has put it at about $750,000.
Complete sentence, your time is up.
Madam Speaker,
how is your time?
No. Madam Speaker, I'd like to motion to ask for 5 extra minutes for my colleague to complete this presentation.
Seconded, Madam.
It has been moved and seconded that the member be given a further 5 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? No. The noes have it. You have to take your seat.
So in closing...
No, that's it. You finish. Your time is up.
Thank you.
If can somebody wind up on behalf of the Prime Minister? If there's nobody.
Madam Speaker.
No, but let me explain to the members, please. When a member is not on his feet there's nobody speaking, I simply ask the question. If nobody else is speaking, is the Prime Minister ready to wind up?
But you didn't ask if anybody else is speaking. You just asked for them to wind up.
The member from Marigot will wait until he is speaker and then he can conduct these. Okay, right. Well, then we'll wait until then and I'll do it the way the book says to do it, okay? So therefore, anytime there's nobody on the floor, I'm going to ask somebody to wind up. It means nobody else wants to speak. That's a reasonable assumption to make.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise, Madam Speaker, to make my contribution and to support the supplementary estimates before the Honorable House. Madam Speaker, what we have here before us is absolute evidence, Madam Speaker, of a government that is working, Madam Speaker, in the interest of its people. That is clear. And let us establish that, Madam Speaker, from the word go. Every single supplementary appropriation listed here, Madam Speaker, gives clear evidence of a country in development. And Madam Speaker, that is, and I want to reiterate the point, that a supplementary appropriation is estimates that had not been budgeted for. In other words, extra budgetary estimates, Madam Speaker, extra budgetary spending, and that, Madam Speaker, is evidence of the tremendous infrastructural development works happening around Dominica at this point, Madam Speaker. That is what is happening, Madam. That is the evidence here, Edith.
Just a minute.
That is the evidence
now,
here, Madam Speaker, of a
order, please. Order, please. This is the same thing. When the sounds were coming while the member for Roseau was speaking, they were moderate. All of a sudden, a member on the government side is speaking and the volume of protest is gone up. I'm taking note of this and I'm asking members of the House and those in the gallery to take note of this. It cannot be just a talk going on. It is a disturbance. There is a difference. And I'm asking the members, please, you can make your sides, but do so moderately. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't need your protection, but I thank you. I'm grateful for it. All the same, Madam Speaker. And the truth hurts. The truth hurts, and we understand that. And the truth is glaring, and the members of the opposition cannot deal with it. And we accept that. That is okay. But as we go along, we will show you, Madam Speaker, and we will prove to the opposition that, in fact, the government, Madam Speaker, is working. And so, Madam Speaker, that is why serious politicians come to the House of Assembly. Because that is where we debate the issues of development. That's where we debate the issues that affect the lives of the people. It's not a theatrical presentation. It's real life work happening in the country, Madam Speaker. And that is where we debate the matters that affect the people. Right here, Madam Speaker. That is what we are doing. And Madam Speaker, you know, sometimes I listen to the airwaves, I listen to press conferences, and we hear, Madam Speaker, the purveyors and the vendors of doom and gloom, Madam Speaker, criticizing the government, Madam Speaker, criticizing the government on the management of the economy. And quite rightly, when they are questioned, Madam Speaker, when they are asked to come up with facts and figures, Madam Speaker, they cannot do it. And that is what we have just seen in this House by Senator Prevost, Madam Speaker. Mere speculation, conjecture, Madam Speaker, and he refused to address the facts and the figures as presented by the supplementary estimates. And the facts don't lie. The figures don't lie. And that is what we are here, not to defend, but to present supplementary estimates to this honorable House of expenditure that has already been made in the development process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to the upgrading and enhancement of tourism facilities in the country. And I speak specifically of the vistas of Iwasi. And I'm very happy with the work that is going on right now, again, in the Kalinago territory. It's a beautiful piece of development going on up there. In my opinion, the kind of tourism product that really, Mr. Speaker, displays what Dominica's tourism product should be. The accommodation is all in keeping, Mr. Speaker, with really what we need following on the examples, on the great examples set by Jungle Bay and Secret Bay, the architecture that is being constructed right now in the Kalinago territory on the vistas of Iwasi, Mr. Speaker, is in fact what we need to be known as. We pride ourselves on being the nature island of the world, and that piece of architecture, Mr. Speaker, is in keeping with that vision and with that thrust. And I can certainly say, Mr. Speaker, that that project, I believe, will become a success and will become one of the signature products in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And those of us in the House, both on the government side and the opposition side, who have not visited the vistas of Iwasi yet, should in fact do so. That's a project in its embryonic stage, and it's really progressing very nicely. And we hope, Mr. Speaker, that that is a project that we can boast about in the not too distant future. And government has placed some of the economic citizenship monies behind this project. And I may dare say, those other projects in which economic citizenship monies have been given, Mr. Speaker, should come to the fore, Mr. Speaker, and follow on the examples being set by vistas of Iwasi. Again, Atlantic Hotel, Mr. Speaker, a local investor, local entrepreneur, very much like the investor at the vistas of Iwasi, entrepreneur and a proprietor who lived out of the country, Mr. Speaker, and saw it fit to come back home and invest in his people, in their development, and in the country. And again, we see that at Atlantic Hotel, and that is why the government, Mr. Speaker, is supporting those types of ventures. When our local Dominican entrepreneurs, Mr. Speaker, take a chance to invest in the development of the country, the government supports them in that venture to ensure that they succeed. And the Atlantic Hotel, Atlantic View Hotel, is a very good project, Mr. Speaker, a project with tremendous potential. We need the hotel rooms, not only in Dominica, the export-ready rooms, but again on the north, Mr. Speaker, we need the hotel rooms to add to the variety. So, for example, we have guests who can come into Secret Bay at that level, and also we have guests who perhaps not at the 600, 700 US a night level can come in to accommodation such as Atlantic Hotel and still be able to get the experience that Dominica has to offer, because we are a unique destination in many respects, and we like our properties, like I just said, of vistas of Iwasi, we like our properties, Mr. Speaker, to mirror that kind of experience, because we always feel that our geographical attributes are not the only attributes that make up the tourism product. And so our accommodation must follow in that same vein, must mirror, Mr. Speaker. We will deal with access in a little while. It is this government who lighted up the runway and upgraded Melvin earlier, but so we'll deal with access, Mr. Speaker, in a little while. So I'm very happy for the investment that government is making in those pieces of tourism infrastructure and in the hotel plans. And although it's not on the supplementary list of projects here, Mr. Speaker, but if you'll allow me to digress a bit, and that's why government has stepped up and in fact invested in a hotel plant, Mr. Speaker, because of our diplomatic relations with countries like the Kingdom of Morocco, and we are now doing the Cabrit Hotel and Spa. So not only have we teamed up, for want of a better term, and assisted local entrepreneurs and businessmen who want to invest in the tourism industry, but the government itself, Mr. Speaker, is in fact investing in a hotel. And in the budget, we spoke about the range project that is soon to come on the northern side of the Cabrits, more popularly known as the Bell Hall. So when I see investments in our hotel plans such as Iwasi and Atlantic, that tells me, Mr. Speaker, that the tourism industry is moving in the right direction, Mr. Speaker, and we are getting to the point where we can compete with those competitors who are close by, in close proximity to us. Even the further investment in the Waiti Kubuli National Trail, that is a signature tourism product in Dominica, and more it's becoming popular worldwide, not only regionally, but internationally. More hikers are challenged by the trail. More hikers are coming to Dominica specifically for hiking, Mr. Speaker. And this project, in fact, will help us in marketing the country more and more. And so we are very happy that the government has continued to invest in the Waitikubuli National Trail. I believe, give the trail another 5 to 10 years, that product will in fact not only be one of the signature products in Dominica, but I believe in the Caribbean, because I don't think that there is any other long distance hiking trail of that type, Mr. Speaker, that can rival the only one in the Caribbean very well. And I don't think that any other island really has the geographical attributes to establish a hiking trail. So I believe that the potential for the development of the Waitikubuli National Trail, and by extension for Dominica, is tremendous, and we shall continue to invest in the Waitikubuli National Trail for tourism purposes, Mr. Speaker. Dominicans too, I mean, in the whole healthy living trust, I believe that more and more nationals should hike the trail and get to know about the trail, because we ourselves must be ambassadors for all the tourism products in Dominica, not only the Waitikubuli National Trail, but Trafalgar Falls, Emerald Pool, Midland Falls, Indian River, the Cabrits, the Coal Soufriere in Penville. All of our tourism sites and attractions must be known, must be intimately known. Hiking to the Boiling Lake must be known by all Dominicans, so all of us can become salespersons, can become ambassadors for the tourism industry, and sell the product to the rest of the world, Mr. Speaker. So I'm very happy for that. While I'm on that, and while we're speaking, Mr. Speaker, about tourism sites and attractions, I'm very happy to see the West Coast water supply nearing completion and coming to an end. And again, the government has just spent some $2 million to bring that project to completion. Not only will that project benefit all of the communities on the West Coast, and that is not what I'm going to, that is the primary benefit and the purpose for the project. But what I'm interested in, Mr. Speaker, is the Milton Falls at Syndicate. And I believe the Milton Falls has the same kind of potential and is just as good a feature as the Emerald Pool, Mr. Speaker. But because of the water catchment, which is situated, water catchment for Bioche and Dubla, which is situated above the Milton Falls, we have not been able to develop those falls in the way that we would have liked in the tourism industry. So now that the West Coast water supply is nearing an end, I believe we can focus some attention on the development of the Milton Falls and bring it up to the stature of the Emerald Pool and make it one of our signature products. And again, that will help us to divert some traffic down, some tourism traffic, especially our cruise passenger traffic, down to the West Coast and closer to the north, Mr. Speaker, because what you find is that the bulk of the tourism traffic, especially on the cruise ships, go to the more popular sites like the Trafalgar Falls and the Emerald Pool. And that's why we really had to implement the premium site access into Trafalgar to allow, Mr. Speaker, the cruise ships to enjoy Trafalgar. But at the same time, we want to continue to develop, because Dominica has tremendous potential for developing our waterfalls. I mean, we have been discovering, even quite recently, new and exciting waterfalls in Sultan and all over Dominica. And what we want to do is to continue to develop those sites and attractions, and hopefully and eventually make them paying sites, so that we can generate some revenue from those sites and we can bring them up to the stature and to the standard of, say, a Trafalgar Falls or an Emerald Pool. So when I see, Mr. Speaker, the government investing in the completion of the West Coast water supply, what immediately comes to mind is the availability of the Milton Falls in Syndicate. And we in tourism are very happy for that, because what we want to do is to continue to expand the offerings of the visitors, because you find on the cruise ships more and more we have repeat guests and return visits. And when the persons come to Dominica for a second and a third time, they would really like to go to an attraction that is new to them. It enhances the excitement, and they see something new that they had not seen on their previous visit to the island. So I'm very happy for that. Mr. Speaker, also to the investment in the Windsor Park Sports Stadium, Mr. Speaker, and the announcement that the Prime Minister has just made that the West Indies will be playing Australia in Dominica next year is tremendous, is amazing. I mean, we can never quantify the amount of promotion that the country receives, advertisement that the country receives as a result of the hosting of those test matches. I mean, the value of hosting a test match in Dominica in advertising dollars works out to the millions, maybe even more than we inject into our marketing budget on an annual basis. Because we are a small country with a small economy, Mr. Speaker, and resources are very scarce. So these are the novel and innovative ways that we can get to market the country. A match like West Indies versus Australia is beamed across the world. All of the test playing countries like New Zealand, India, England, all of them, not just South Africa, all of the test playing countries would want to watch a match like West Indies versus Australia. And the resultant effect of that is they would get to know about Dominica, get to know about the destination Dominica. I mean, we heard in previous matches how the commentators boast about the Windsor Park Sports Stadium and the Roseau River running next to it. In fact, we have actually started the Roseau River Promenade, and I'm hoping that by the time Australia gets to Dominica next year, the Roseau River Promenade will be well on its way, Mr. Speaker, and this will be another added attraction to look forward to in the city of Roseau, because the city of Roseau in and of itself is an attraction. And I remember the critics when we broke ground on the Windsor Park, which the opposition could not do, because remember, the opposition attempted the development of the Windsor Park and failed at it. Up to now, Mr. Speaker, the derelict iron beams are still on the port as evidence of the failure of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Speaker, to develop the Windsor Park. And it took this government to develop the Windsor Park. And I'm proud to stand here, Mr. Speaker, and see more investments being made to the Windsor Park, Mr. Speaker. That is evidence of a working government, and that will continue for the next 5 years and for many years to come, Mr. Speaker, under the Roosevelt Scary Dominica Labour Party-led government, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to, the Senator Prevost spoke about the Northern Link Road. But the investments in the Penville-Vickers Road is all in that vein, Mr. Speaker. It is further development of the Northern Link Road, because we recognize the tourism potential, and that's why we went ahead and we established the Indian River Tourist Reception Facility. We developed the coal soufriere when we got in, Mr. Speaker. We are the ones, Mr. Speaker, who started off the ecotourism development program, Mr. Speaker. We developed the Penville Tourist Reception Facility, all in an effect to highlight all of the tourism products that can be found, the cabrits, and what Dr. Honeychurch is doing. This government is the first government that used local funds to continue the development of Fort Shirley on the cabrits, Mr. Speaker. So I don't understand what Senator Prevost was trying to say, Mr. Speaker. The point he was trying to make about the Northern Link Road, it was irrelevant, because the facts show here that the development of the Penville-Vickers Road is all in an effort to complete the development of the roadway, of the Northern Link roadway, and make the experience of the visitor one that is second to none, Mr. Speaker. Also too, we are investing, Mr. Speaker, in a number of road rehabilitation projects all over Dominica, and you can see them. And why is that next to my heart, and why do I mention that in my presentation? Because right now in the town of Portsmouth, there's a massive road rehabilitation going on of the Harbour Lane and the Rodney streets, Mr. Speaker, two of the major streets next to the Bay Street in Portsmouth that has already being rehabilitated by this government to enhance the second tongue, Mr. Speaker. And we believe with the completion of the surfacing and the sidewalks of Harbour Lane, which is nearing completion, and then we want to move to Rodney Street. Of course, Rodney Street is the street next to the Benjamin's Park, and the Benjamin's Park right now is one of the premier sporting grounds in Dominica. I mean, you can come to the Benjamin's Park on any given Sunday, especially Sunday, and see cricket and football, rounders and netball, basketball happening almost simultaneously, Mr. Speaker, and there's nowhere else in Dominica that can happen. And Benjamin's Park is seriously being developed. We just finished the cricket stadium, and of course you heard the announcements of the Prime Minister and the President of the Cricket Association that a cricket academy, a regional cricket academy, will be established at the cricket stadium facilities at the Benjamin's Park. So resurfacing Rodney Street will complement the development that's happening right now at the Benjamin's Park. So when we see, Mr. Speaker, $3.5 million being invested in road rehabilitation and about 1.6 of that being spent right now in the town of Portsmouth, I must mention that, and we must show gratitude, Mr. Speaker, for that piece of infrastructural development works happening right now in the town of Portsmouth, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also to the road rehabilitation that happened from Melvin Hall into Canefield and down into Roseau. Again, all of those projects in and of themselves, on the face of it, they do not look like tourism projects, Mr. Speaker. But if you dig deeper below the surface, you will see that those infrastructural development works, they enhance the tourism experience in the country. So they are linked, Mr. Speaker, to tourism. And we in tourism, we are very happy for those infrastructure development. Because half of the time of any visitor in the country is really traveling either from their hotel to one of our tourism sites or from the airport on their arrival or back to the airport on their departure. So the roadways in Dominica, which have been significantly enhanced by this government since we took office, Mr. Speaker, is all part of the tourism experience, and we welcome, and I speak, I'm sure, on behalf of all the stakeholders in the tourism industry when I say that we welcome the rehabilitation happening on all of our major roadways. And that is only because of our foreign policy. We've been able to establish some great relationships, Mr. Speaker, that I may dare say if we were to lose office, those relationships would be lost to Dominica. And I believe Dominicans understand that, and Dominicans appreciate that. And that is why I predict to you the results in the next elections will see this government continuing the great work that we have started, Mr. Speaker. And so once again, with those few words, I would like to state that I lend my support to the passage of the supplementary estimates before us in this House at this point in time. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I want to make a very brief intervention on the matter before the House. That is the schedule of supplementary estimates in the sum of $45,056,927.22, of which from local funds is an amount of $14,634,835.19, or 32.5%. From loans, the sum of $23,038,483.17, 51.1%, and $7,383,608.86, or 16.4%. of the total amount. It also indicates, Madam Speaker, that, Mr. Speaker, sorry, that usually from the supplementary estimates, we would see a significant amount of money coming from grant funding. But we see in this case that less is derived from grant funding and more is relied on loan funding, which is a very clear indication that the country, the government, has the capacity to acquire loans to carry out programs and projects and activities that result in the development of the people and the country on a whole. So I want to compliment the Ministry of Finance and the Minister for Finance for his continued manner in which he exercises prudence in the management of the resources of the country. Mr. Speaker, I want to make my contribution with respect to just about two of the areas on the supplementary estimates. One has to do with the amount of $495,000 which went towards the construction of the Silver Lake apartments. Mr. Speaker, we all know the history of Silver Lake and how Silver Lake came about. In fact, Silver Lake came about after Hurricane David, when several Dominicans were displaced and therefore had to find refuge in various locations in Dominica to build homes and to seek forms of residence. And Silver Lake was one of those areas. And as a result, with the unplanned manner in which the Silver Lake area was developed, it had reached a stage where the housing conditions there were becoming very unacceptable or deplorable. And therefore the government saw it very fit at this point in time to establish or to develop and improve on the housing infrastructure in the Silver Lake area. These are Dominicans living there. There are children there, there are adults, there are people there of varying backgrounds. And therefore, I think the responsibility of the government in terms of improving the housing infrastructure there is very commendable. And one can see whether as a resident or a passerby in the Silver Lake area, the quality of the apartment buildings that have been constructed. 6 families will be housed in that facility, which comprises of 3 2-bedroom apartments and 3 single-bedroom apartments. So 6 families comprising of mother, father, children, in some instances as many as 3 and 4 children will be accommodated in those apartments. And really and truly, Mr. Speaker, it's again because of the manner in which the government has been attending to the housing infrastructure in Dominica. That in itself forms part of the housing revolution. And the record speaks to the millions of dollars that have been spent so far in housing assistance, the squatter regulation program, the now new pit latrine program, which has been criticized heavily by the opposition, Mr. Speaker, but a program which has been put forward by the United Nations, where the United Nations pronouncement of sanitation, improvement of sanitation throughout the world, we were ahead of that pronouncement by the United Nations. So, really and truly, we are on target. We are in tune with the whole thrust of the government in terms of improving the housing infrastructure on the island. And Silver Lake is no exception. This housing apartment, which will be commissioned on Friday, the keys have been handed to the residents, the 6 members of the family there, or the householders, and soon, very soon, Mr. Speaker, we will approach the continuation of the improvement of housing in Silver Lake area. And by saying so, the Longhouse building, which house the residents who are moving to the new apartments, will be demolished, and another apartment will be built again for the residents of Silver Lake to improve on the housing there. So, I mean, what more can we ask for, Mr. Speaker? And I really want to compliment the Ministry of Housing and the staff and the engineers of the Housing Division for their approach towards the improvement of the housing infrastructure in the Silver Lake area. Mr. Speaker, the other item I want to spend a few minutes on is we all recall the trough system that we had on Christmas Eve 2013, which brought quite an amount of what do you call it? Not destruction, but displacement in the form of damages to the residents, buildings and their own private property, damage in terms of erosion of the river banks and other areas surrounding the river there. The road infrastructure was damaged. And really and truly, that morning of the Christmas Eve, when several Dominicans, especially from the south, were heading into Roseau to begin the day in terms of Christmas Eve shopping and work in the city, were met with this disaster. And certainly it was something which I'm sure that many of the people from the Newtown area, the Citron area, and the people from the south that will resonate in their minds every time they pass through that area and remember the effect of that trough in that area on Christmas Eve of 2013. But again, Mr. Speaker, we did not just sit and see the trough and the damages that were done by the trough, but the government took to the wheel as usual and brought relief to the people. We went ahead and did the kind of cleanup that is necessary to ensure that within 24 hours that the roadway was open and people could commute and continue their way of life after the onset of that trough on Christmas Eve 2013. So the persons who were affected, they have received some assistance. We could not have met 100% of the assistance in terms of the assessments that were done and the damages that were done to their property and their personal effects. But certainly we met them to some extent, and I'm sure that the people who were affected and the relief that they received were well received by the many people who were affected, Mr. Speaker. But we also want to compliment the actions that we saw, or reaction if you want to call it so, from the many people who came out with shovels and pickaxes and hoes and spades and wheelbarrows and the equipment operators who responded so quickly to ensure that the cleanup operations went through very expeditiously and very smoothly to allow for ease of transportation and relief to the people that were affected in the area. The other area I want to touch on, Mr. Speaker, is that of the, well, it's also related to the trough, and that is, which I made reference to, the cleanup operations, where the sum of $2 million was spent there for that operation. The works were very extensive. The effects of that trough were, I mean, something that we had seen for the very first time in that area. I mean, I was born and raised in Newtown, and in my lifetime I had never experienced anything like that, where we saw the Canary River, what we refer to as Live Canary, overflowing its banks, getting into the nearby hotels, the Fort Ney ravine, a very small ravine, which again overflows banks, and the flood ended into the homes of the people on the western side of the road, near the seaside or bayside, and entered into the homes of many people there and affected them in a very, very serious way. But just to sum up, Mr. Speaker, because I said I would make a brief intervention, but the supplementary estimates are estimates that come about out of budgetary funds. When I say out, I mean outside of budgetary funds. In other words, provisions are not normally or usually made for supplementary, and they are called supplementary by the word supplementary, meaning that they are for unforeseen circumstances. And I heard the member for the Roseau Central constituency talked about poor planning. How do you plan for unforeseen circumstances? Is he saying that we should have known or planned for the trough of 2013? Christmas Eve? How does a government plan for unforeseen circumstances? I mean, it really bugs my mind, Mr. Speaker, when we hear of the pronouncements, the kind of statements that are made by members of the opposition, where in fact they say things, they cannot support what they say by any fact or facts, and then they revert to they making pronouncements as far as making anecdotes. That's what is referred to as anecdotes, Mr. Speaker. Because when they are asked to come up with the facts, to support the argument, to support the statements, they cannot present the facts, Mr. Speaker. Some of them say that the facts are in their head. In their head. And if it is in their head, well, let it out. Present it. Let it go. But they fail to do so, Mr. Speaker. And certainly it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we have these people who are presenting themselves as leaders, who are presenting themselves as successors of this government, Mr. Speaker, to take control and governance of the country. I believe that the Dominican people by now have clearly understood that the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica as they dub themselves, is certainly not suitable in any way at all, by any imagination, Mr. Speaker, to take control of this country. Because we know what we experienced in the past under the United Workers' Party, especially during the period 1995 to 2000. Yeah? I was in the opposition at the time. I experienced it. And when we took governance of the country in 2000, of February, Madam Speaker, it was only then we realized the extent to which that the United Workers' Party had brought this country to its knees, Mr. Speaker. It's only then we realized, because really and truly, it's only then, because I had the opportunity to see the books and to see the extent and the finances of the state at this time as the Minister of Finance at the time. But Mr. Speaker, that is of the past. That is of the past. We certainly do not want to return to that and to have that experience again as experienced during the time of the United Workers' Party, the short-term 4.5 years that they spent in government, and of course they will never, never under this earth have the opportunity to govern this country anymore. And I am sure that the people of Dominica will do everything possible to ensure that this does not happen again. The United Workers' Party is not suitable, or Team Dominica, whether it exists or not, is not in any position, Mr. Speaker, not even Team Dominica, much more for the United Workers' Party. Yeah. No, but the way you guys are operating, there's no semblance of teamwork. Each one of you are speaking a different language. There's no collection of ideas and thoughts and policies and plans. Each of them have a different plan. That team, that composition of the team, Mr. Speaker. There's no unity. Yeah, you know when you want to make you in the days when we were playing little games and so on, you just call a few fellas and say, let's form a team. And each of us go and do a little thing, who hit a 6, who hit a 4, who hit a boundary, whatever the case may be. That is how the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica, is operating. And we cannot have such a team or a party put itself forward for any form of governance of this country. So, Speaker, I support the supplementary estimates, and we will continue as a government to manage the finances of the country in a very prudent manner and to bring the kind of programs and policies and projects that the people of Dominica so deserve for their development and for the development of the country. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in total support of the supplementary appropriation as presented today here, and I want to just expand more on some of the areas for discussion here today. In terms of the Ministry of Trade, we see here the multipurpose pack houses where 745, 411 and 41 cents from the CARICOM Development Fund was placed there in terms of the operationalization of this pack house. Now, Mr. Speaker, for a very, very long time, the Dominica Labour Party have embarked on various programs to enhance agriculture in Dominica and exports. And we saw it fit to secure loan funding under this arrangement to operationalize the pack houses, something that will aid in terms of how we export our produce in Dominica. And we speak here of these pack houses that will take care of grading, sorting, packaging, labeling of our produce from here. Now, you know, some time ago, Mr. Speaker, we suffered tremendously when, you know, we exported quite a bit, of course, in the past, especially under our reign here as the Dominica Labour Party. But, you know, we had some little difficulties where we suffered in terms of the packaging and the labeling and the presentation of our produce on the market. And that created a little problem for us in terms of, you know, loss of some of the market share, not because of production, but because of the lack of the facility to really ensure that the produce living in our country was inspected. Of course, there are various programs under the Bureau standards in terms of the Fresh Produce Act, which we are putting in place to make sure we inspect the produce living in Dominica. And this is all aimed at trying to maintain and to gain that market space again. So we saw it fit to secure that loan, and of course this is going to help in the operationalization. The other one I'd like to speak on under the Ministry of Trade, briefly, Mr. and Madam Speaker, is the Small Business Development Enterprise Program. And we know the Small Business Development Enterprise Program has been making wonders for this country, wonders for our small businesses. And here we speak of two institutions we're about to give some help. And the first one we have here is the Crayfish River Development, which is the vistas of Iwasi. And we saw it fit, because in this area, Madam Speaker, we would like to have hotel development in that area, because you know our Kalinago people, which a lot of us around this, on the government side in particular, a lot of us share a common blood with our Kalinago people. You know, Madam Speaker, when we go back to our ancestry, we know a lot about in terms of our genetics. We share that blood, both from an African point of view and both, Madam Speaker, from the Kalinago point of view. So we saw it fit, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we have that sort of development here to improve on the livelihood of our people in the Kalinago territory. So we saw it fit to make sure we support programs in that area. And this program here is one of such programs. In the other area, in the Ansdime area, we also have the Atlantic Hotel in Ansdime, where, of course, we'll be giving an additional soft loan, Madam Speaker, of disbursement here. We have 200 as part of a tranche here, and for the IWASI program, another 250 to. This is all aimed at development of, you know, the hotel industry in Dominica under the Small Business Development Enterprise. Madam Speaker, Black Sigatoka, which is under the Ministry of Agriculture. This period I've been able to understand even more, you know, the dynamics of Black Sigatoka, and you know how it impacts our banana industry. And what I saw recently, of course, helped in terms of even how I cultivate my bananas. And I was able to at least eat some bananas this summer. And that's because of, we had a little break, a little lull period here because of the sort of dry season where you had the Black Sigatoka not spreading and creating a lot of problems. When you couple that with de-leafing, we're able to harvest some of our bunches. The government saw it fit to put an additional $49,000. Of course, we'll be doing that from time to time in terms of procuring chemicals for that purpose here. Madam Speaker, Black Sigatoka doesn't come to the UWP farmers, doesn't come to the labor farmers. He called for every single farmer in Dominica. There's nothing about race, creed, class in terms of disease. And when we get to the Ministry of Health as well, we'll speak about that too, because sometimes we behave here, not we, the government side. I'm talking about my, the opposition side. We behave here like disease comes from one set. You have to be careful if these things are. Even some of your, no, just relax a while, please. Just relax, 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 relax. Okay, so Black Sigatoka is very, very important, and we see it fit, and we will continue to provide the necessary assistance for Black Sigatoka. The Silver Lake housing, Madam Speaker, under housing, we see $495,000 there. Madam Speaker, I drive up to the Roseau Valley a few times a day. I sleep up there. I'm from there. I'm aware of the Silver Lake development. I know how it came about, and the member for the Roseau South constituency give a little history as to the origin of it and how it, how it was the birth of it. And you see, the Dominica Labour Party, Madam Speaker, we are sensitive to the cause of people. And what we want to do here is to raise the level of our people in Silver Lake. And this government, the Dominica Labour Party, we don't want anyone to call them Fly City. We don't want that. They are Silver Lake. It's silver. And that's important. We saw it fit to put up some apartments there. And when I drive here in the evenings, on the midday, or whatever time I plan to go up to Fokani, I see these people, people in Silver Lake, sitting on the side here, relaxing, waiting for the apartments to be opened. And there's one lady in particular, she crosses her legs on her chair right now, outside her beautiful building, hoping to open that door to get into her building. I think that's a great move for them. And Honorable Pal Rep, I want us to build more for the people up there. Because there are people up there, they're human beings, they were friends, they were families, and this Labour Party saw it fit to make sure we develop this part of Dominica referred to as the Silver Lake area. And there's a lovely basin under there if you want to sometimes go there and take a little bath. I used to fish there before, and I think we have done well for our people there. He knows it well. 2 of us were there last week, actually. Madam Speaker, that's a great development by the Dominica Labour Party, and we'll do more for people in Silver Lake who, will continue to help. Now, in terms of the Ministry of Health, there's a $75,000 there, 197.12 cents here, which the government saw. This one is very, very devastating. And chikungunya, similar to, not similar, but close to dengue, because we have been plagued with dengue on a few occasions in the past, and every year we'll always have cases of dengue. But to have chikungunya on your front step right now, on your plate, it's not a joke at all. My aunt is 80-something years old, struggled, knees were getting old, tired, working still at that age, strong lady, and she was struck with that. And so I have first-hand experience of that. And if you allow me, Madam Speaker, I'll relate to the chikungunya in terms of what happens after. She got struck by chikungunya, and it has put her lung flat. She's now lame, and she got a stroke on it. So she's done completely. Now, some time ago, in terms of chikungunya, not the disposable diapers I'm talking about, just chikungunya and the relationship, Madam Speaker, when we presented the budget to the nation, we were ridiculed. And I warned that we have to be careful, because you see, one day we'll go to heaven, all of us here. And so in that case, we have to die. But just during that stage, there's what you call once a man, twice a child. And I've mentioned that the second child is not a nice child at all. It's a deadly child. I'm actually scared of it, but it's reality. And what I see happening to some of our older folks, and what we have done to make their life easier, much easier for them, in terms of disposable diapers, when we introduced that last time, the chikungunya effect, in terms of some of our elderly folks, they have to use it. The opposition saw it fit to call it a Pampers budget. Gentlemen, ladies, we have to be very careful with statements like that. We'll get there one day. If we live long enough and we want to go to heaven, we will get there one day. So I ask the opposition to be careful when you make certain statements. When this Dominica Labour Party here, government, tries to create the right environment and facility for all people, that it is, well, attempted to be ridiculed. There's nothing like that. Be careful, real, and we found it fit here to carry out a consultancy, and there's money in there to assist our people. Just last week I visited a lady. She's 93 years old. I called her name in the last budget presentation where I mentioned her name as Mamari, my French, in Fokani. And I went to visit her 2 days ago. My little nickname, they call me Kolo. Kolo. And she said to me, Kolo, I saw a movie. She said, Colin, this thing is very bad. I say, so what you talking about? She said to me, I saw you chikungunya. That thing they call chikungunya. And she said to me, tooth come like my mal. All my body is hurting me. She's 93, and she'll be 93 in December. But I'm praying that with her strength, she will survive. And she will survive. And she said, Moka puede puzo tous les jours. I'm praying for you all every day. And when you hear a 93-year-old lady afflicted by this chikungunya telling you these things, you must understand the importance, and this government here seeing the importance of putting money in place for things like that. When I speak, Madam Speaker, I like to relate to real-life experiences. This is not a fake. This is real-life experiences. And so when I speak here, I speak facts to the people. And I say to all our folks here, this government will continue to do what it has to do to help our people. Chikungunya being a threat here, it's a major thing. And Madam Speaker, last night I was in Trafalgar, and I was speaking to my people up there at a little public meeting. You know, and I took the opportunity to discuss health with them, you know, from a scientific point of view, and relating to them at their level for better understanding and a broad understanding. And I spoke to them in reference to even some of the impending diseases, chikungunya being in this supplementary appropriation here, but as well as even looming threats like Ebola, which is not a major threat for us here right now, but we have put everything in place through the ministry to take care of problems there. But as a veterinarian, I took time off to explain the transmission or the cross-species barrier in terms of diseases coming from animals into the human species. They call it crossing the species barrier, and that can be very dangerous. And the reason for that, Madam Speaker, if just a little bit more time, I know I'm slightly on the side of chikungunya, but it's important. But the reason for that, Madam Speaker, is you have bats up there, they're accustomed to the Ebola virus, they're accustomed to it, they're building necessary antibodies for it. Human beings like myself, we're here enjoying life. But sometimes, Madam Speaker, you may have the virus crossing that species, bat species, into the human species, and that is a major problem for us. And because we are not immune and we don't have the necessary antibodies built in our system to combat diseases like Ebola, and even chikungunya, because it's something new, it can be very devastating in us. And the reason for that is, Madam Speaker, we are not immune to it as yet. Well, we have not developed the tolerance for it. We don't have the necessary antibodies, and that can be devastating. This is why we saw the quite a bit of impact on our population when chikungunya struck us. So I just thought I'd mention a little bit on that today, and to see the importance of placing the money in there for a consultancy to look into chikungunya. I think that's a great move by this Labour Party government. The Windsor Park Stadium. Real example again, I was at the Windsor Park Stadium, and when I entered the stadium just 2 days ago, and we had a little meeting there with some friends of ours. Honorable George was there, Honorable Prime Minister was there, Honorable George and Honorable Bernard. We were right there in the Windsor Park Stadium. There's money in this supplementary appropriation for the Windsor Park Stadium again. But what really struck me when I entered the Windsor Park Stadium, I saw the lush green, the lawn that's there. And I've been in there to witness a few of the games that we see there. And I must say I've been through the region as well too, and I had some time off in terms of looking at some of their stadiums. And I think this is a great achievement by the Dominica Labour Party, the national stadium. And when I see money here in terms of the development of the stadium and the grounds of the Windsor Park Sports Stadium for the international cricket, Madam Speaker, I long for more cricket to come to Dominica. I enjoy going up in the stadium. I feel proud to be in the stadium, to be honest with you. I mean, yes, we had the Windsor Park grounds, it was okay and whatnot. In those days, that's what we had. But we as a government saw it fit to make sure stadium was built to expose our people to stadium life. And I'm very happy to see the opposition, my good friends here, attentive listening to things like that, which is very good. Okay, and I'll be brief, Madam Speaker. The torrential rains, I heard the honourable member for the Roseau South constituency speak of the Live Canary. Or the river canal, the river canal.
You still have 15 minutes.
Excuse me?
15 minutes.
Excuse me, madam? Oh, I have 15 minutes. Yes. Okay. Okay. I heard the member for the Roseau South constituency when he mentioned about the river canal up in the Roseau South area. But, Madam Speaker, I'm related to the Marshley Ravine as well too. When I was much younger, we used to go in that ravine and we used to catch sirik. You know sirik, this land crab. And there was a big boulder there, a very big boulder. You probably have to use an excavator to take it out of the ravine. But Madam Speaker, what I saw this last December, the water from the cliff coming down, and with that sort of developing that momentum and velocity, the push actually took that stone off and placed it on the road. My mom is dead, my dad is dead. If they were to, just pop back for a little while, maybe to say hello, and they were to see that ravine today, they would never believe in their life that this could have ever happened. And this was a serious period. Last December was very serious. I didn't go to Roseau to shop that day, I remember that quite clearly. I spent the entire day in the Roseau Valley, especially in the Fokani area, where we got a lot of it, and we got a lot of damage here. But to see Fokani now, roads are cleaned nicely. We have our little paved, lovely road, the Rim Road up to the Roseau Valley. Thanks to the Dominica Labour Party, seen it fit to really develop this project. That's helped us a lot, Madam Speaker. You drive there every day, you know what we went through. You know what we went through as well, too, Madam Speaker, during that period of last December. But, Madam Speaker, we saw it fit, and in this supplementary appropriation, we have placed additional funds, which is $2 million+ for the cleanup and emergency work that was carried out. I think that was a great, great program, and I think we'll work from that. Now, I'll end on one here, Madam Speaker, which is a geothermal project. And I want to correct quite a bit of misinformation laid out here for the member for the Roseau Central constituency, Honorable Norris Prevost. It was a bit painful listening to it this morning. I kept here reading my notes, take off my specs now to deal with it. Where the member for the Roseau Central constituency, misrepresented the project grossly. And you see, we have to be careful with that. Under the UWP government, Madam Speaker, the Domlecque was sold. The member was part of the government. And they sold Domlecque. So we had no control and no influence over Domlecque again as such. We had the fuel surcharge, we have all the bills, all the parts of the bill, all the incrementals that's added to the bill and makes it prohibitive for us. No, so not having the control now, people struggled a bit, the prices went up. I myself pay electricity bills, it's high, especially during the dry season, it's high, very, very high. And to come to this house this morning for a government who has taken time off, bold and brave government, the only government to date. Yes, in your times you may have heard of studies and intentions to do certain things, but we saw it fit at the Dominica Labour Party to investigate and stop speaking of potential, but really to generate that electricity from the geothermal resource, from the source there. I am from the Roseau Valley. There's no one here more concerned than me of the Roseau Valley. I live there, I was born there, I know what's going on there. But for the UWP government to come and use our people in the Roseau Valley, and you looked at all different areas where you ran your little private meetings, areas with some of your supporters. I respect that you have your supporters. You try to stall the educational programs we had there. I was at every single one of them. We hired best practices. We looked at all the geothermal programs globally. We paid for our counterpart representatives in terms of folks who would come to work for the Dominica government to look after the interests of Dominica alongside the folks who were drilling for us. So we had a double program here. Relax, listen to that. You must stop it. Anyway, so
Can you put on your mic, please? Can you put on?
It's off all the time.
Can the member for Roseau Central contain himself? As I protected you, I want to protect those speaking on the other side. And yes, it's my job to tell you that you should not be disturbed. And please, that's it. Can the member keep quiet, please? I know you've had your swan song. You'll have another time.
Madam Speaker, yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The mic was up for the entire presentation. Oh, it just went off. Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker, because quite a bit of information to let out there. Okay, getting back on track now. Yeah, I'm going to bring it up. Getting back on track now, Madam Speaker, and thanks for the intervention. Member, I'm pretty cool, I'm factual, so you don't have to be scared at all. Let me deliver the facts to you right now and correct the misinformation that you keep doing and bringing out here. And I noticed you left soon after your presentation, but getting back to the topic. So they were able to go into all their little pockets here. Of course, Madam Speaker, they have one or two supporters in the valley, one or two, not many. And they picked up these guys. But you see, what you have to be careful about, Madam Speaker, there are folks who come to Dominica This is a lovely country, and there's a lot of peace in this country right now. And this is because of you have a stable government that has been in power for 15 years, going to that another period again to start a new era. We know that. So people look at this country, and even some of your people, your supporters, are investing in Dominica right now, not during your time, but during our time, because it's stable and the environment is conducive for that. Now, getting back to the geothermal program now. So we are pursuing this geothermal program. We are brave, we are bold. We don't just talk. We don't just figure, okay, we'll try it and whatnot. That's okay. We are bold and brave, and we'll go after it. And we're going after it right now. Yes, we dug 3 test wells. 2 in Loda, 1 in Wotton-Wivern. And the one I'm the member for the Roseau Central constituency mentioned there in terms of the failure of this well. That's not true at all. You must listen to the facts, and you have to sit now. I'm speaking, I have not said anything. You have to sit.
Take your seat. The point, he's not yielding, so you'll have to do it after.
That cross not helping you. That cross not helping at all.
But you made all your misrepresentation. I said nothing.
Take out the cross.
No.
Can the member for Roseau Central keep quiet? When you stand on a point of order during a member's speech, the rules say if he doesn't yield, you wait until he's done. He's not yielding, so you wait until he's done. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you... I'm going to give him time because you're keeping it back.
Let me explain to you now.
If the member doesn't keep quiet, I'm going to ask him to leave. He's looking for that, not me.
Okay, just to make sure we correct that little part of the misinformation that was presented early on by the member for the Roseau Central constituency. Yes, we dug the reinjection well in the Lily Valley area, which is very close to the well in the Wotton-Wivern area. Now, yes, we dug this well here. There's a reason why we went on to the production well. I wouldn't call this well a failed well, because we can come back to this well and do some directional drilling to get to the source. Now, hold on a while, I'm a member for the Roseau Central constituency. I don't know if you can take your eyes with your glasses on today here and go and look in the soil and see, well, everything is good, I can see under there. I suspect you're bionic and you can probably do that, but you are totally misrepresenting the facts here today. Getting back to the geothermal project and what's in the budget here to that. Now, what I want to impress upon our people here today is the fact that we are pursuing it, but we are pursuing this energy here to make life easier for our people. And that is critical, we must understand that. The UWP sold the company, so we have lost out on that. We are about to look at the geothermal generation of electricity. We have reached very far. We have 10.4 megawatts in Loda right now, sufficient for the whole of Dominica so far. About 11, sufficient for Dominica. So, Madam Speaker, we are on the right track. For the government, for the opposition to come here and speak ill of the geothermal initiative as undertaken by this government, I think is misleading. I take personal offense against it, because I am part of this government here, the Dominican Labour Party, and we are very serious about this development of this country. So don't come in this house, do not do it and lie. And at the end of your presentation, pretend that you're supporting the program. This is madness. You can do that. So, Madam Speaker, at a later time, I'll speak a little more on it, but I'll make sure we correct that. Now, I'll say one last thing before I leave here today, sit here today. And I don't want you all to use people in the Roseau Valley. We are the most committed government. We care the most for our people. We have always said that we understand the sensitivity of lands. We understand that clearly. And we are not about to interfere in the land of the people. But we are out to look at lands in terms of development for the common good of this country. They went about spreading all sorts of propaganda that we're going to take land, we're going to go to Providas, we're going to move people, and a lot of nonsense. And we must stop that. This is a country to develop. Your children will enjoy it too. Your children will enjoy it. So let's be careful about what we do here in terms of propaganda against this project. Every single country in this world is watching Dominica as leaders in the geothermal project. Every single country. But here it is, the opposition of Dominica finds it fit to try to put roadblocks in it, mislead the information. We cannot do that, gentlemen. There's some things we have to stand with government on in terms of development. And this is one of them. And lastly, Madam Speaker, there are folks out there who come to this country. They enjoy what we have here. They come from industrialized countries where there's a lot of smoke and pollution, but they don't want this country to develop in a green and clean manner in terms of environmentally being friendly. And I want to guard against the recolonization of this country. We will not let it happen. And you all are aiding it, though you have the genetics of the Africans in you as well as me. And we have to stop this nonsense. We got to build this Dominica, and you have to be part with this government on the geothermal initiative. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House be suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that this honorable House be suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable House stands suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon.
Madam Speaker.